Hey, I'm Dean. I'm a creativity expert, a marketing strategist, and most importantly for this video, I'm a professional copywriter. For all kinds of people and businesses on every continent except Antarctica and almost every day, I write somebody's LinkedIn About section over at perfectlydescribed.com. In fact, I can practically guarantee that I've written for people or companies you've heard of. In this video, I'm showing you the exact same formula that I use when I write for my clients. You've never seen anything like this. For most people, the About section or summary section of your LinkedIn page is by far the hardest part of the LinkedIn page to write well. And that's because the rest of a LinkedIn page is you, talking about you. It's just facts. But the summary section is not really about you, it's about the person who's reading it. That person wants to see themselves and whatever problem they're trying to fix presented back to them. And if you want to be the person that the reader reaches out to today and remembers tomorrow, then you need a different approach. You have to get out of your head and think about you the way a stranger will think about you. My process takes an hour from start to finish, and the way we create something so great so quickly is to use 3 concepts. Talk about you by talking about them, be the horse lady, remember the rope bridge. I'm going to walk you through the questions and the process that I use with every client as I explain these 3 concepts. By the time we're done, you will know exactly how to write a memorable, attention-getting LinkedIn summary, one that makes you stand apart from all of the generic profiles on LinkedIn. The first concept is to talk about you by talking about them. When I take people through the LinkedIn exercise, we always start with the same 3 questions. Who's your reader? How do they describe their problem? And what do you want to say to them about that problem? People go to LinkedIn to solve a problem. Nobody realizes, oh my God, it's 2 a.m. and I've been in bed looking at LinkedIn on my phone for 3 hours. Everybody on LinkedIn is trying to solve some kind of problem. So the first thing we need to do is decide what kind of person with a problem are you trying to talk to? And to answer, who is your reader, be as specific as possible. An HR director at a tech company with 100 to 250 people headquartered in my city. A doctor and mom who's burned out and is thinking about leaving medicine. A VP at a large retailer who needs a project manager that understands agile development. You're stating what you think is the person who would best identify with the problem you solve for an employer or a customer. Next, you answer, what is their problem? Really, you're trying to use an I statement. Like this. I'm tired of my VP asking me every Monday why we still don't have that billing problem under control. Or I need someone who can take over some of my projects so I can start moving up and maybe even get a vacation. Or I dread going into work and sometimes I stop in the parking lot next door so I can cry or just try to calm myself before I see my first patient. From your experience, from talking to people, from previous job interviews where you didn't get hired but they asked you certain questions, from your knowledge of what your customers are going through, stuff like that. You're deciding what their problem is, and it should be a problem that you are very, even uniquely suited to solve. When you write out their problem statement, you're describing their negative present. If there wasn't something negative about their present situation, they wouldn't have a problem to solve, would they? The next step, the next question, is to look at what you wrote for what is their problem and tell them that you're the solution to that problem. You describe the positive future. Negative present, positive future. Like this. Let's say you coach female doctors who are moms. You might answer, what do you want to say to them, by writing, my clients walk into work and they don't have a knot in their stomach. They don't find little ways to delay their start of the day every day. Their coworkers see the difference, and so do their patients. That's describing your reader's positive future. All right, we've just figured out who we're aiming at, what their problem is, and what you can tell them about their problem. And even though we talked about you a little in those answers, we still talked about you by talking about them, their negative present, their positive future. Now that you have the first questions done, we move into the part where we talk about you, but we need to get you out of your own head and into theirs. So the things that you write down to answer these questions are facts about you based on questions about them. First up is, why are you the safe choice? The readers we identified in the first question are looking at multiple people or multiple companies if you're a company to them. one of the individuals or companies they look at is going to seem like the safer choice. You need to be that safer choice. Think about what makes you feel that someone or something is a safe choice. Do they have lots of experience? Have they worked for a company I've heard of? Did they go to a school that's famous for the problem I'm trying to solve? Can they point to a lot of projects or something else that shows they'll understand what I'm trying to do? Do they teach a night class at a local community college in the subject I'm dealing with? Usually for the safe question, you want to show, if you can, that either you or an institution you can associate yourself with, like an employer or a school, is known for solving their problem or has lots of experience with it. Something is going to make you seem like you won't be a waste of time if they reach out to you. Write that down. Next up is, what big impact can you have on the problem that we created with that I statement from earlier? Can you obliterate the problem? Can you wrestle all the different parts of it into something manageable? Can you prevent it from happening again ever? Can you find the right new people to hire and build a team that takes the company to the next level? Whatever big impact you can have on just the problem listed in the earlier questions, write those things down. Then we need to answer why it's easy for them to get to their positive future if they give you money. Do you take over the project and stay with it until it's done? Do you have a process or a set of steps or a plan you use to get them to their positive future in the fewest number of steps, or cheaper or faster than other people would? Are you great at figuring out problems fast and cutting right to the solution? Whatever you can say to help them understand that life is easier when you're around, that's something to jot down here. And finally, we talk about, why are you different? Up until now, we've been in the first concept, talking about them as we talk about you. Now we switch to the horse lady. Imagine you've decided to look for a therapist, a mental health therapist. You go looking on LinkedIn, and then the next day your friend or your spouse or your mom asks you, how's it going, looking for a therapist? And you say, it's going pretty good. I looked at some people yesterday. 4 of them seemed pretty similar, and then there was a horse lady. What happened was, you looked at 5 different therapists, and 4 of them were similar enough that you couldn't tell if there was any meaningful difference between them. But for one of them, her LinkedIn summary said, instead of coming to an office, drive to this nearby farm, and you and I are going to get on some really gentle horses, and we're going to take a slow, easy ride down the trail, and I'll ask questions and we'll talk. Now, what she's offering is the exact same product. It's the same service, same therapy. She does nothing different, but she has an angle that the others don't. So she's memorable the next day and easily separated from the other 4. The 4 who are so similar, you couldn't make a decision about which one of them might be better. Very few of us are completely unique at work. But you need to be memorable and easy to separate from the rest of the people they're looking at. Like I said earlier, I've ghostwritten hundreds and hundreds of these, and besides the question about what problem does the reader have, this part about choosing your angle is the one people have the most trouble with. We're not used to thinking this way. I get that. So here are some tips. First, what you don't want to say here. You don't want to say anything that everyone else is going to say. Even if something is true for you and those other people are lying, you still can't say it. Remember, the point here is to stand apart from the rest of the people the reader's looking at. Everyone says they're creative or dynamic or self-starting. Everyone in business says they listen to their customers. They treat their customers like partners or family. You can't say any of that, or the reader will just fold you into the pack with everyone else. And you don't say that you enable something, or you're passionate about something, or your superpower is whatever. This isn't business school or Facebook. This is LinkedIn. I promise you there's something that makes you stand apart in a way that makes you attractive and memorable to some percentage of the readers. If you focus on coaching female doctors, if you come from a family that's been in retail for 40 years, if you're a first-generation American, if you were a champion backgammon player in high school, if you worked the Saturday night shift as a waitress when you were younger and you were the one they trusted to lock up at night, everyone has something that shows that they're a little bit more than the generic people that the reader had to look at before they found you. That little something, that angle, is what puts you over the top after the reader has spent the last 1 or 2 minutes reading about themselves by reading your summary. Because people have a very small amount of attention if they're reading about you, a stranger, and an ocean full of attention when they're reading about themselves. Now, let's put it all together. The formula for writing a LinkedIn summary that gets you noticed and remembered is the reader's problem, plus why you are the bee's knees for this problem, plus the mechanism to fix or prevent the problem. If the problem is that they can't get their receivables under control, you open your summary by saying, if you've reached the point where receivables seem like they're never going to be under control, I can help. If the problem was they can't move up in their own career because they're buried under too many projects, you could say, are you ready for someone to lighten your project management workload and not need to be micromanaged as they do it? Take the problem you decided that they had and write an opening line as if you're talking directly to them about their problem. Then you write a little bit about why you're the safe choice and how you're going to have a big impact on their problem and how life is easier when you're working with them. The whole time you're talking about you by talking about them and their problem. Somewhere inside of all that, point out that what you learned or the kind of person you are or the kind of worker you became as you locked up the restaurant on Saturday nights or won the backgammon championship or career coached female doctors. It brought you to the point where you are today. The perfect person to solve the problem that this reader has. Then give them your email address. Don't ask them to connect to you on LinkedIn. That process has too much friction. Give them an email address and tell them to reach you there. And that's it. You talked about you by talking about them. You are the horse lady. And the rope bridge I talked about at the beginning, that means this summary gets the reader from one side of the river to the other, but it doesn't carry much weight. Don't stuff it with things that will make the reader give up reading. Don't assume they owe you their attention because they don't. A rope bridge will get them across as long as you don't weigh them down too much. Give them your email address, get the conversation moved off of LinkedIn as quickly as possible. And there it is, the method I've used for hundreds of clients when I wrote their LinkedIn summaries. Those people stood out. They got new jobs. They got better jobs. They got new customers. They talked about the reader as a way to talk about themselves. They decided on their angle, and they didn't put too much burden on their readers. It made a big difference. If you want to, you can add a section to the bottom of your summary with a bunch of keywords just for the LinkedIn search algorithm. I don't think it makes a difference, but it probably can't hurt. No human is going to read it anyway, so why not? Before we finish up here, I hope you subscribe, but also please click the like button. Someone somewhere already clicked it, and that's how YouTube knew that you'd find this video useful. So please pass along the favor by liking this video so someone else will see it. Until next time, I'm Dean. Bye-bye.